In this video, we're going to be exploring this idea of you attract what you are. So if you're experiencing negative things in your life, if you're always kind of bringing in the same relationships, the same people, the same situations, the same finances, the things that you no longer want to experience and don't like in your life, if you're constantly experiencing those, you're like, what is going on here? This is ridiculous. Another man who cheats on me, another woman who just disrespects me. Here we go. Okay, right? If that's you and you're like, okay, what am I doing? What's going on here, and you really want to figure that out, then this video is for you. Because you attract what you are, and if you change what you are, you'll change what you attract. So let's get right into it. My name's Ethan. I'm super happy that you're here. Let's go. You attract what you are. Now, this took me so long to learn in life because I didn't really want to admit that I was attracting relationships and people and situations and things into my life that I didn't like. Instead, I chose to blame them. I blamed the relationships or the women in the relationships for causing the problems. I blamed life and God for the situations that I'd end up in. I'd blame everyone else, aside from looking at what part of me is creating and attracting this situation. Because for me, the relationships and the women that I'd attract women who couldn't love me fully, who I'd have to play cat and mouse with, who would cheat on me or be rude to me and mean in different ways. And there was a part of me that loved that. There's a part of me that enjoyed the highs and the lows of that. There's a part of me that reminded that of childhood. There's a part of me that saw that I was unlovable and wanted to prove that to be true, and I just happened to do that through the relationships. I'd choose women who weren't available because they would just end up proving that, hey, you're not lovable, right? Whatever we believe about ourselves underneath the surface, and this is when no one's watching, when no one's looking, when no one's around, it's how we feel in the deepest, darkest depths of our being. If we feel unlovable, if we feel unworthy, if we feel in all of these deep pockets of ourselves, less, shame, not good enough, then we will continually attract those situations in our life. It's inevitable, and it's unfortunate, and it's also beautiful, because within that paradigm, within this frame, there's a solution. And the solution is you. The solution is coming into yourself and seeing these parts of yourself, growing an awareness of what is actually happening. What is creating this effect in my life where I always choose women that are unavailable, or men that are unavailable, or men who cheat on me, or women who cheat on me, whatever the case is for you. Or why you always seem to manifest bad situations happening. Or why you find yourself in the same level of debt or the same level of money month after month after month. Or the reason why you justify playing small, right? This shows up a lot of different ways. And it's just looking at getting honest of what part is this reflecting back to you? What parts of yourself is this showing and trying to show you that it's using another person? It's using a situation, it's using the environment, it's using something in your life to reflect back to you this wound that you are carrying. Because what I found in my experience, when I began to do this deep level of work, when I hired the coaches, when I hired the mentors, when I started doing breath work, plant medicines, and I started meditating like crazy just to try to find this out, because I was here, I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. There's no way that life is like this. There's no way. And then I began to see that all that life was doing was reflecting back to me, the deepest parts of myself that I couldn't see at the time. And then as I began to see them, I began to be with them, I began to tend to those wounds, I began to heal the root. And what that ended up doing was shifting all these different aspects of my being. I began to experience relationships where I could fully be myself. And the relationships where I couldn't fully be myself, I had the courage and the strength to share that and to be able to leave them. Bad things no longer actually happen to me. Like, it's been a while. I can't even remember the last time that something bad actually happened in my life. because I just don't vibe at the same level. Situations and opportunities that, honestly, if I was to tell you the full story, you'd be like, that makes no sense how that happened in your life. Like, what? How is it that you get to spend time and become really good friends with somebody who is so well off in the world that you met through just one email because you got a download from the universe while you're in meditation that you had to send a message to that person, so you did and they responded. And look at where you are now. Wow. So as we begin to shift these patterns, shift these roots in ourselves, shift these ideas and beliefs about ourselves, life begins to open up, because all that life is doing is reflecting back to you. And the game is, how good can you let it be? How good can you let life actually be? Because the more that you can let it be good, the more good that life will reflect back to you. We live in a world in which we operate through a principle, the law of circulation. And what that means is that it's similar to physics in this way, of like every reaction has an opposite and opposing reaction. What we give, we get, right? If we walk in the world and we give negativity, if we give these wounds and these things that are playing out under the surface and we give that to the world, what do you think we're going to get? We are going to get that on the return. And that's okay. But if we want to begin to change that, well, then we have to change what we give. Now, this is a huge thing of power. It's a big thing of taking responsibility, because it's so much easier to blame life, to blame the situations, to blame the girlfriends, to blame the men. Like, I was in a relationship where I got cheated on like 6 or 7 or 8. I don't even know how many times. It was a lot of times. And I used to blame her for that. And then I started to take responsibility for, how did I create that situation to happen? And how was I okay with that? Why didn't I leave on the first time? Because I was so dependent on her love. Oh, wow, okay. So there's the part of you that's creating that pattern. Wow, Ethan, right? It's easier just to blame. Oh, it's their fault. No. It's about taking responsibility for how we are showing up in the world radically. And the more that we can do that, the more that we begin to own our shadows, the parts of us that we can't see that are in the blind spots, the more that those blind spots begin to come into the open, we free them up energetically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and physiologically. And we're then able to move in the world giving more love. Because that's what this is about. It's, you give what you get. You give more love, you get more love. You give more negativity, you get more negativity. You give hate, you get hate. You give toxicity, you get toxicity. You cheat on somebody, you're gonna get cheated on, or things are gonna show up even worse in your life. You give what you get. It's a fundamental law of circulation in the universe. And if you want to see this in action, if you just want to see what this is like, I dare you for a day to go out in a normal day and just do random acts of kindness. Like, wherever you are, hold the door open for a stranger, buy somebody a coffee, compliment a couple of people in your office or your workspace or wherever you are. Go out in the world and just radiate love. Like, really try to just do random acts of kindness and then see how you feel afterwards. Without a doubt, I can guarantee you that you're going to feel lit up, that you're going to feel excited, that you're going to feel on purpose, on passion. You're going to feel so many things. You're going to be like, wow, life is really good, right? Why is that? Because of what you're giving. So many of us block that off. And because we block it off, we also block off the receiving end, because you can only get what you're willing to give. And that's a huge thing. And this comes back to Marianne Williamson's quote in one of her books, which talks about the only thing that's missing in any relationship, in any situation in your life, is the love that you are not willing to give. Now, that is so fire. That is so fire. The only thing missing in any relationship or in any situation in your life is the love in which you are not willing to give. It's the only thing that's missing, is your inability to express love in a deeper, more beautiful way. And why do we do that? Because we're scared. we're super scared. That's okay. This is learning. We're all just learning how to love. We're all learning how to come back to the heart, coming back to truth. But that's it. So how do you actually begin to identify these things that are happening? Look at the things in your life that you haven't been willing to look at. Take responsibility for the shadow aspects of yourself and not attract those same things into your life. Not attract the relationships that end up just like flattening. Not attract the bad things that happen in your life. The first thing is to take a look at those things. To take a look at all the bad things that's happened to you. To take a look at those situations that you're blaming other people for. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something that happened in life. To look wherever you are blaming somebody and then to ask yourself, what part did I play in this? Because the ego's like, oh, it's all their fault. It's fucked in, like blah, 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 blah. But responsibility in the soul, if we want to really get to the soul and we want to connect to the soul and the spirit and the heart, we have to be willing to look at the parts we don't want to look at of how we contributed to it. Because it takes two to tango. It takes multiple to do the line dance. Never said that before, that's fun. That's so funny. I don't know, I just love when I get in these roles because it just flows and it feels so good. And I really appreciate you being here, tuning into this. So thank you so much for being here, because some of this stuff can be hard to hear. It can be hard to look at our lives and look at the things that we don't like, or look at the things that we've been blaming other people for multiple years, or we've had resentment for, or the situations in our lives are like, oh, it's just their fault, or it's life's fault, or it's God's fault. But then peel back the layers and ask, how have I created this situation? And to take responsibility for those things. And then to take ownership and apologize for those things, whether it's in your relationships, and specifically if it's in your relationships, friendships, all that kind of stuff, to take responsibility for where you dropped the ball and apologize. Not expecting anything back from the person, but just taking responsibility yourself. In the bad situations, it's looking at, okay, am I negative? Am I mean? Am I critical? Am I judgmental? Am I toxic? And looking at the parts of us that are, and getting honest with ourselves. And then from there, asking, okay, well, why am I this way? Right? That's a big question to ask. What have I experienced in my life that led me to being this way? It's a big question to dive into once again. But as we begin to question these things, we begin to shake loose our current beliefs about them, the current way that we are seeing them, because the only flaw in everything in life is our own thinking, our own perception of something. We think we see reality, but we only see one aspect of it. So the best way to pull something apart is beginning to question our thinking around it. So question, okay, what parts of me are attracting this situation into this life, into my life? And really being honest. And then from there, whatever parts are revealed through that, how can you show up for those parts of yourself in a more beautiful and loving way? You know, how can you show up for the party that doesn't feel worthy, that doesn't feel lovable, that feels undeserving, or like a fraud or a failure? How can you love that part too? You know, you can ask yourself, where does that come from? Where did that story come from that you're unlovable, or you're undeserving, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're stupid, you're a failure? Where does that story come from? How does that little girl or little boy that was once told that thing or experienced that thing, how do they feel? What do they need to hear from you in this moment? Is it I love you? Is it it's okay? Is it a hug? Really tune into those feelings. Because everything that we experience and the things that we suppress find a way to express themselves. And chances are the expression of that thing is the thing that you don't necessarily like. And so it's tending to that wound, tending to those parts of ourselves that have been hurt, that have been bullied or made fun of or rejected or shamed, and loving those parts too. Loving those parts with all of our heart. And then we can begin to ask the question, which flips it the opposite. Who do I have to be in order to attract what it is that I want in my life? Right? So if you're attracting negativity, who do you have to be to attract more positivity in your life? Okay, well, you might have to be less judgmental, more positive, more loving. Okay, so this is going to give you a roadmap. This is going to give you the place where you get to. It's going to identify where you are and where you want to be by asking that question. If it's a relationship, the question you can ask is, well, who do I want to be in relationship with? And then the next question you ask after that is, who do I have to be in order to be in relationship with that person? Because that's who you have to become and who you have to be. If you want to be with somebody loyal and you're not loyal, how can you expect to be with somebody loyal? If you want to be with somebody who can love with a full heart, how can you expect to be with them if you don't love with a full heart? How can you be with or expect to be with somebody who is completely trustworthy when you yourself aren't trustworthy and don't tell the truth? Right? So you have to become what it is that you're looking for. And that's how you begin to attract it, right? Because who you are is attracting what you're experiencing right now. And that means that who you have to become somebody different. There's a gap here. And this person, this version of yourself that you are becoming and that you want to be, will attract particular results into their experience as well. That's all that you're looking for. And we'll talk about how to bridge that gap in future videos. This is what I've spent my whole life doing. It's what I work with when I work with clients one-on-one, when I work with them in a group program, when I work with them through the men's group. We help men identify and understand, well, what's getting in the way? How can we remove those blocks? And then afterwards, once we remove the blocks, the natural progression, the natural succession is that you become that person. There's just some things in the way, and those things in the way are resulting of the past, resulting of situations, things that we're not okay with, things that we've experienced that we have held on to and picked up throughout the course of our lives. And it's just about putting those things down so that we can walk through the world with more love. It just flows sometimes. So, you no longer have to be the way that you want to be. You no longer have to attract what it is that you're attracting. You no longer have to experience what it is that you're experiencing. But what that means is that you have to become somebody different in order to attract those different things. In order to attract what it is that you want, you have to become that. And that's the game. But then there's a nuance to that I just want to have a disclaimer, because this isn't about chasing some version of ourselves that we have to be because we think that once we get there, then we're going to feel good enough, or then we're going to feel worthy, or then deserving, or then lovable. It's not that fucking game. No, it's not that game at all. Because if we're playing that game of I'm trying to evolve myself, I'm trying to fix myself, I'm trying to grow to become who I think I need to be to feel enough, well, we're never going to feel enough because we're playing that game. Growth, evolution, becoming this next version of who and what we are is a natural progression of life. We're not doing it to get there because we need to get there. We're doing it because we no longer have I guess the best way to say is we have a preference for what we want to experience. We're not attached to it, but we have a preference. I prefer this over this. I'd love to experience this over this. For sure. I want that for you too. But what I don't want is for you to change, for you to become who you think you have to be, because you think that that version is going to be enough. Because this version, watching right now, you right here, hello, are so enough, are so beautiful, are so fucking amazing and wonderful and incredible. And that's the truth. And with that, we're going to end on this note. From my heart to yours. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, comment if anything came up for you. And so much love, man. Women, woman, man, person, human being. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. And thank you for doing this work on yourself. Because once again, it's the most important work that we can do. From my heart to yours, so much love. Peace.